Hey all, Alex here at your home of the Music Deep Dive, and today it is time for a review of the novel published in January 1853 by Charlotte Brontë, Villette. This is the third and final novel to be published during Charlotte Bronte's lifetime. Her unpublished first novel, The Professor, was later released after her passing, and it is actually from that novel that Villette was sort of birthed. It was taking some of the elements and general plot points of The Professor and really expanding upon them. And the book, in its way, is based off of Bronte's experience teaching at a boarding school in Brussels, Belgium. It is very autobiographical, as it feels like all of her works are on some level. And it's a work that, while it has not reached the same levels of incredible popularity that Jane Eyre has gained a reputation, nevertheless, as being really a sort of author's favorite, if you will. If not necessarily her own, then the favorite of quite a few of her contemporaries. People were praising it after her passing. Even today, you will read reviews saying that people prefer this to Shirley, certainly, and even to Jane Eyre. So there's a lot that there's a lot of hype kind of surrounding this book, despite its shorter stature to Jane Eyre. And I was curious about how it would impact me. And if I'm being honest, this is going to be a review where I don't really exactly know how much I appreciated it kind of reading it the first time. Which means I'm not entirely sure how much my critiques are going to interest anybody this time around, because I don't know that I have that much to say, frankly. The prose, I guess I can start with, in the sense of, I think this is some of her best prose in general. I think it is, there's a lot of kind of thematic ideas. There's a lot of religious ideas that are being kind of thrown around in a way that you don't see as much in her first two novels. There's a whole kind of side plot, metaphor, however you want to describe it, with the appearance of a nun that takes up quite a bit of time during, especially kind of the second half of the book. And there's a lot of like imagery there as far as like the main character, Lucy Snow, going to confessional and praying, and there's a lot of language there that I think is really interesting, and it's interesting to hear to see Brontë take on a more kind of spiritual approach to her writing. But then we get to the character, right? The main character of Lucy Snow. And Lucy Snow is a strange character to talk about. I don't entirely know if I enjoyed reading her story, and I don't necessarily know if Brontë meant us to enjoy reading her story. Were we meant to empathize with her? It's hard to say. My point is, Lucy Snow is a little bit miserable, and she's kind of miserable throughout the course of the book. And that is due in part to this kind of willingness to be self-reliant that you see again in these other Brontë protagonists, like Jane Eyre, for instance. But where Jane Eyre has this like attitude of spunk and of just vigor that drives that character, that I think makes people connect with her, even if you're not the biggest fan of some of the decisions she makes. There's not that much here with Lucy Snow. She is a very reserved person. She is a very judgmental person, and she's a very self-consciously anonymous person. She doesn't stand out. And that makes for a lot of scenes in this book that are centered around this idea of internal dialogue. It's a lot of internal dialoguing with Lucy, and the actual plot points, as they were, move very slowly. This is a very slow progressing book. It requires a lot of patience from that standpoint, and I think a lot of romances are. I don't want to, a lot of like early romantic romances are. I'm not trying to say that this is entirely unique in that sense, but Boy, I thought this book moved like it was going through molasses at points. It's a lot of just kind of reflections about feelings and about how one way or another Lucy Snow finds herself not enjoying whatever situation she's in. There's a lot of like, I don't know if trauma is the right word, but there's certainly like a lot of emotions that she is wanting to process or more likely to escape. And then there's this whole kind of, there's the romance side of it, which ends up becoming kind of a two-pronged thing. There's the character of Dr. Breton, who I think the scenes between him and Lucy, to me, are the highlights of the book. I think the kind of back and forth between them and the general, like, genuine affection that they have for each other, in a romantic sense and in a platonic sense during the scenes when that's appropriate, I think they move and connect more so than any other character in here. I think there are other female characters that try to connect with Lucy, but from one way or another, it always feels like kind of a combative perspective, I suppose. It always feels like there's a conflict. It always feels like there's a contest of some sort. And I did not find myself enjoying those quite as much. I think the Dr. Breton scenes were the highlight. One of the kind of just connecting to the Dr. Breton thing, and I'm not going to talk about what it is because it is a spoiler, but there are a lot of reveals. And one of the strengths that I think people talk about when they discuss Villette is this idea of Brontë, or arguably the narrator, Lucy Snow, they're keeping information hidden from the reader at choice moments and then revealing them later on kind of in the book to kind of bring out these kind of wow moments or help readers connect dots, make it a little bit of a mystery type of thing. And I think in that sense, that's where it's hard to kind of judge this book on a first read. I think if I were to go through a second time and pick up the details about, oh, this is a reference to Dr. Breton, this is a reference to Paul Emanuel, this is a reference to Polly, I mean, all these things that undoubtedly were caked in there, and there's a couple that I was able to catch on to during the reading. But after a first read, it's kind of hard for me to say that I fully appreciated all of what is going on here. Really, what I'm evaluating it on is the quality of the characters and the character writing. And I don't know. I think Jane Eyre and Shirley both had a much more interesting cast of characters. Not much more in the case of Shirley, but somewhat more interesting collection of individuals, collections of stories. And, we didn't really get that with Villette quite as much. I'm not as enamored with Lucy Snow or with pretty much anybody else here. So, with that said, again, it's hard for me to cast complete judgment. At this moment, I would say this is probably my least favorite Charlotte Brontë novel. But I also recognize this very similar to Emma by Jane Austen, in the sense that it was not near the top for me, it was actually closer to the bottom. But Emma and Villette, I think, also have the most opportunity to grow on me with future reads. Again, will I prioritize a future read? I don't know. But I can sense that there is a lot going on that I wasn't able to pick up on. And for that reason, I'm very curious to know if anybody watching this video has read Villette, and if so, what your thoughts are. And what things do you think I missed out on? Because I'm certain, I know that I missed out on details, and I'd be happy to hear what your thoughts are. With that, I want to thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, more reviews are to come. Hit that bell for notifications and tell a friend as well. Thanks so much, and I will see you next time right here at your home of the Music Deep Dive.